There we go. So I will again run through our usual opening. In accordance with an act to implement provisions necessary to the health, welfare, and safety of the citizens of Maine in response to the COVID-19 public health emergency, as enacted to read Section G1 MRSA subsection 403-A, public proceedings through remote access during declaration of state of emergency due to COVID-19. This business meeting is being held with a mix of in-person and virtually using Zoom. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the maranacook.org YouTube channel. Due to the change in format of this Board of Directors meeting, please be aware that during the course of this meeting, the microphones of the viewing audience will be muted except during the identified portions of public comments at this meeting. On today's agenda, this is number 3. Part of this meeting is also a budget meeting, and citizen comment on the budget can be done at item 8F. There is a chat feature in Zoom, but we will not be utilizing this feature for this meeting. If you have any questions or comments, we respectfully ask that you contact the central office or email the superintendent or any other board member, and an answer will be provided to you as soon as possible. We thank the public for their patience during these highly unusual circumstances. Attendance and all votes will be done through roll call. When your name is called, board members, please cast your vote with the 3 available options of yes, approve, no, disapprove, or abstain. We're going to proceed to the roll call. So again, please say here when I call your name. And for those that are online, please make sure your audio is working so we can confirm that you are here. Here we go, roll call. Kim.
Here.
Wendy.
Here.
Dane.
Here.
Kathy.
Here.
Melissa.
Here.
Oh, good, she made it. Alex.
Here.
Patty.
Here.
Rebecca.
Here.
Betty.
Here.
Sean.
Here.
Gary.
Here.
And David. Here. Everyone's in attendance. Thank you, everyone.
Student representatives who might be present.
Yeah. So we'll start with the middle school, and we've got Emma, Cooper, and Rocco. Not sure what order you guys are going in tonight.
I only have Cooper, I think.
Okay. Well, we'll start with Cooper then.
Yeah, so since the other 2 aren't here, I guess I'll just do everything. So
I can read my part. I'm on my mother.
okay.
Okay.
So I will now be doing school-wide stuff, Katahdin, and Acadia. So for school-wide events, we have our winter carnival coming up next week. And some of the events in that include lip sync, a TikTok dance, rolling a ping pong ball across the floor with your elbow, and a bunch of cereal themed challenges like making a bracelet one-handed and stacking the tallest cereal tower you can. We are also starting to do college trivia in the morning announcements. On the Katahdin team, they just finished up their social movement research projects for ELA, where they worked on finding and identifying primary and secondary resources, as well as how to cite those sources. They also worked on finding the main idea of informational texts, and they are about to start their work on argumentative writing. In math, the 6th graders are finishing up their expressions and equations unit, where they worked on order of operations, operations with exponents, and the vocabulary of algebraic expressions and equations. The 7th graders are finishing up their unit on angles in geometry and will take the final assessment next week. The 8th graders just finished their work with the Pythagorean theorem and are now starting a mini unit on how they will use math in future careers. In their geography class, they are continuing with the 5 themes of location, place, human environment interaction, movement and regions, and are also working on locating countries using longitude and latitude. In art, they are working on their nature-themed clay relief tiles, and Pamela Moulton will be meeting with them virtually on Thursday and Friday this week to start their textile art project. In coding, they are continuing to work with code.org. On Acadia in music, we have been learning how to read notes on the musical scale and how to play basic songs on the piano and guitar. In German, we have started to learn how to describe our favorite things, such as snacks, books, and colors. And in our ELA class, we were very lucky to receive a Miranda Cook Education Foundation grant to purchase a bunch of copies of the book Stamped, Racism, Anti-Racism, and You, written by Jason Reynolds and Ibram Kendi. And the Acadia team teachers organized a massive community-wide conversation on the book that had help from the Reed Field Library, and there were over 100 students and community members who participated in these conversations. And that is all I have for now.
Thank you very much. Rocco.
I will be talking about the Royal River team and the Moose Island team. So on Royal River, students are continuing to read independently books each week, and additionally, they're finishing their informational writing pieces. In math, they focused on the regular grade level units, learning surface area, Pythagorean theorem, and exponents, for example. They've continued their classes about economies, laws, and classes have started designing their Rube Goldberg style inventions. In French for Valentine's Day, students learned many romantic phrases and made love locks to put on the doorway. And they've also been in PE. On Moose, in Spanish, Moose has been working on introducing themselves, giving their phone numbers, birthdays, and where they're from. In health, students have been talking about stress and how to manage it, relationships and how they work, and illegal drug prevention. And then in ELA, Moose students are finishing up argumentative writing and will be moving on to narrative writing. And in math, 6th graders have been working on adding, subtracting, and dividing fractions, whole numbers, and decimals. 7th graders have been working on finding the area, surface area, and volume of cubes, rectangular prisms, and triangles. And 8th graders have been exploring the Pythagorean theorem and learning how it works. And that is all I have for tonight.
Thank you very much.
And unfortunately or fortunately, both Claire and Morgan are on the ski team, and they are away at a meet that they left for this afternoon, and we wish them the best of luck, and they'll be back next month to give a report as to what's going on at the high school. So good luck to both Claire and Morgan. We know you'll make us proud. Go Black Bears.
Citizens' comments.
For this section, if you're a person online that would like to make a citizen comment, please use the chat feature to communicate to Diane McGregor, and she'll help facilitate you being able to speak at this time. So we're going to wait just a moment to see if there's anyone online, it looks like. And I'm getting the signal from Mrs. McGregor, that there is nothing, there is nobody at this time that's asking to, oh, pardon me, we've got one.
Robin Graziano.
Robin Graziano, you have the floor.
I think I'm here for later. My chat message was that I'm here if there's any questions about the overnight trip that's coming up later in the agenda.
All right, thank you very much, Robin. I'm sure we'll be back to you shortly. No other citizen comments at this point? All right,
So we're
looks
going
like you
to,
can move on.
Reports. Does anybody have questions about the reports?
Oh, is your microphone on?
Just a question related to additions, adjustments. Where in the agenda will be discussion of the petition or letters we received? And if it's not, I would like to add that somewhere.
Do you want to make
Okay.
it 6H?
6,
So we'll make that, we'll add that as number 6H right after letter G. And we'll put their student petition discussion.
Thank you.
now we're on reports. So I have some questions,
Oh,
minor questions. When I looked at page 8 of 33, this is remote learning schedule. So is this sort of like when I was going down the street today, they were talking about charter school. Does this represent something similar to a charter school operation?
backwards.
That was a general question, that's all.
So that's the schedule for the remote
Right,
synchronous.
yeah. I just was curious in my mind. Because they were talking about it, they're trying to increase it, and I'm saying, we got it here already. If case, am I right?
What was that last part?
I said, I think we got it here already.
I hope so.
Yeah. So, okay. The other thing is on 9, I think that we all got to pay attention. People ask us, the SAT costs $52.
Yes.
So, and then they had another, this was a day for schools on the radio. We talked about the COVID shot. They're talking about having kids also with the teachers. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but who knows? Then it'll come. So storm days versus remote days.
Yep.
I thought we discussed that at the last board meeting. That remote days should be near the end. And that storm days should be at the end and remote days when it snows. Then I thought we discussed that last time. Well, I think that has to be discussed because it's on 17 of 33. And direction is what we're asking.
And if you want to have that discussion when we talk about the calendar for next year, that might be the best place to do that.
You want to do that, calendar? So
If that's
you
okay.
guys need to think about that as we move on. The other thing is that pre-K is going all day on 2 days.
Right now.
And do they stay awake? I mean, when I was a kid, I went to sleep. I just,
Isn't that on an agenda coming up?
Yes.
so that was all the questions I had. No, the other question I had, which is a general, How many people are in the Thomas College this year in dual enrollment? That's all.
Dr. Conway, do you have that number off the top of your head?
Well, not off the top of my head, but it's probably well over 200 because, I mean, it's probably over 300. Almost all our students take some form of dual enrollment. But maybe you're referring to the associate's degree specifically? Yes. For the associate's degree this year, I think there's 3 students who will be graduating with it.
Great. Okay.
Nice. Thank you, Dr. Conway.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sean.
Anybody else have questions? Go ahead, Sean.
I was wondering what, on page 10, I think it's Mr. Conway's, it talks about he says, I've been asking that freshmen and sophomores back in person 4 days a week, but busing has been really tricky. I was wondering, I meant to email before, but I didn't get to it today. So what's the issue? Is it we don't have enough drivers or what's the?
For the
Wednesday.
I was wondering what the transportation issues are.
Yeah,
On page 10.
part of it is the social distancing on the buses. I met actually with Julie today, and all of our buses except for our Wayne buses are now full in both the morning and the afternoon. Every seat is taken, it's spoken for. So Julie's done a good job of making sure students are on buses if they want to get on buses, but it's a balancing act because of the social distancing and keeping them below 50. So
I guess what I'm asking is if we had more drivers, could we get these kids to school or not? 'Cause I'm asking that for later conversation.
Yeah. So we've got 11 drivers right now. Normally we have 18. So yeah, so I apologize, Sean, for not being clear. Yeah.
I was asking.
Yeah. No, I apologize for not being clear. If we had more drivers, it would certainly help without a doubt.
Okay, any other
you.
questions?
And if I can just add in, I was missing one number from my report on truancy, which is on page
17 or
18. The high school only had, I'm very happy to report, only had one new truant student. So their total goes up to from 30 to 31. So the month of February was a little kinder to us when it came to truancy reports. So I did want to give you that update, and I apologize that it wasn't available when I made the report.
No problem. Simple.
Yep.
Any further questions? Moving on.
I would like to, if it's okay, I know you guys heard that we hired Sarah Morel as our health center director. So I invited her here tonight, and I thought it would be appropriate to just so you can have a name and a face, I asked her if she wouldn't mind coming and speaking to you very briefly tonight as an introduction. I know she wrote a fantastic report for you, but Sarah, if you don't mind.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me with my mask on? So nice to meet you all. My name's Sarah Morrill. As Jay said, I'm the new director of the school-based health center. I'm a nurse. I live in Wayne. I have 4 kids in the district, grades 9, 8, 6, and 4. I'm really excited to be in this position. I feel like it's a great opportunity for me to bring all of my passions together. It's really important. I think probably the most important thing as I've gotten started in this position is to carry on the legacy of the health center. Everywhere I go, people, say up and down how wonderful Marana Cook's School-Based Health Center is. I think it's a model of, school-based health centers that other health centers look to. And it's really important to me to understand the current state and to be able to sort of carry that legacy forward while also looking toward the future. This is a really interesting time to be a health center. I think one of the, sort of outcomes of COVID broadly is that it's really shown how much student health impacts students being in school. And I think school-based health is really important, and I think it's getting more attention than it has in the past, and that's an exciting opportunity for us. As we move forward, we certainly have some challenges to confront, including forming partnerships that are sustainable with external parties like our medical provider, and carrying forward the great partnerships we have with behavioral health. I think that we're in a good position to put some new things in place while also drawing on all of the historical knowledge that I know a lot of you hold. It's great to be here. I'm so impressed with the work that the Health Center does. I'm so honored to be part of the RSU community. And I really welcome input and feedback from this group. Feel free to reach out to me by phone or email if you have input or questions, suggestions, connections, anything that, can kind of help us move forward. And just, I don't know if folks are aware, we're still waiting for the RFP, the new competitive bid application to come from the state. I have talked to the state and it should be like any day now, which they said, last week. So hopefully it really will be any day now so we can get it put together and out the door. So that's what I got.
Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy your new job.
Thank you all.
And very quickly, before we leave the report section, I just want to make sure, I know sometimes we miss our board members online. I don't know if there's any board members online that have any questions pertaining to the reports before we leave this section.
Here none. 6A.
All righty.
Yeah. 6A.
I move to approve the minutes of February 24th, 2021.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
All right. Kim,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Melissa,
Abstain?
Alex,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
there we go. Sean,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and David.
Yes.
So it passes 11 yes and 1 abstention.
I move to accept the donation.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Kim,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy, yeah, Melissa,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and David.
Yes.
And unanimous.
I move to consider the overnight trip for the high school to Hidden Valley Nature Center in Jefferson, Maine.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
So I just want to point out very quickly before I do a roll call, it's the request is on page 27. There are notes on the back of that page that pertain to the trip so that you kind of know what was going on. The sleeping arrangements are they will be building their own individual ice igloos. They're sleeping outdoors. So I'm not sure exactly what to call them. I'll call them igloos, but they're building their own. So, oh, Alex has got a question.
So it's $10 per student for food.
Yep. And they're
raising-
taking care of their own food.
Perfect.
Any other questions before I go back to roll call? Apologize.
you, Graziana, for doing this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Robin, I know you're online. Do you want to add anything to this before we take the vote?
Oh, sure. This is a great opportunity. We won this trip. Marana High School won this trip through the Teens to Trails organization. So if you're ever looking for a place to donate money to, Teens to Trails is a great one because we get trips for free. It's going to be at the Hidden Valley Nature Center, and we have 10 students who are going, and they have organized the breakfast and the dinners, figuring out what we should eat, how we're going to cook it. We're talking about, to talk about how we're going to sleep. It's going to either be in our own personal tents or an igloo or a quincy or a brush shelter. We have a yurt with a wood stove just in case anybody gets really cold. They'll have a place to kind of warm up. But everybody's excited about learning how to make one of the other shelters in the outdoors. So I'm hoping it's going to be a great time.
Thank you, Robin.
Roll call.
All set? Okay. Kim,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes, and I just want to say super quick, Robin, it's so cool that this grant happens and this trip sounds amazing and way to go.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and David.
Yes.
And so it's unanimous.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Well, I move to approve the facilities bond project.
Second.
Any discussion?
So again, it's on page 29 of 33. This is a recommendation from the Facilities Committee that Rebecca had reported on last week. All of these projects will be funded through the bond. So we kind of lumped them all together so that you could see them. I can answer any questions. I've also got Sean here if you've got any questions that are specific to any of those particular projects.
Roll call.
All right.
Well, excuse me.
Go ahead, Betty.
I just wanted to know for the record how much is left over to be spent. Is
Do you
there
want-
anything left over to be spent in the bond?
Yes, we had a little over $900,000 before we started looking at these projects. So we're looking at spending almost $400,000 of that. And I didn't bring that one. The one sheet that I should have brought, I didn't bring tonight.
So it's like 510,000.
I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that before we voted.
And Jay, one
Oh,
other
go ahead, Kim, yes.
quick question. There's a time frame that we have to spend it all within, right? How close are we to that?
We've still got another
Year.
year and a half roughly to spend. Any other questions? I'll jump to roll call. Oh, there we go. So the total, after you deduct these projects, would be $541,179. So that's still left to spend on projects. Thank you, Bridget. All
Jay,
right.
Does that include the installation of the lights?
Yes, it does.
Oh, okay.
The only thing we don't have the cost on is what we had talked about at the facilities project with the upgrades to the industrial arts room, those two things with the hood and the dust collector. We don't have that cost yet. So that cost will have to go into there going forward. So,
I think that she was talking about the labor cost. We haven't bid that out yet.
no, we haven't bid it out yet. No.
So we don't know what that costs.
Right. We don't have the
There's
labor
still those
cost.
two things outstanding, right?
Right.
Yes.
The IA and the LED lights that will be
Yeah,
coming
we
from
own
that
we own the
500.
light. Right. We own the lights. Only thing that we don't know is the labor.
Right.
Okay,
Sorry, I
so
missed
I
that.
was just trying to be clear that out of that 500,000, we still have to pay for the lights in the industrial arts.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And we will be bringing that forward to you guys. As soon as we have that stuff, we will be bringing it forward to you because that's work we'd like to see happen either this spring or through the course of the summer. So that will be coming very shortly. Any other questions? Okay, I'll jump to it. Kim,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes?
and David.
Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you.
I move to approve the 2021 to 2022 school calendar.
Second.
So this is the discussion item.
Yeah.
So snow days, to me, should be remote days. And the only time that a remote day would not be used is if we have power outages, then we
Right.
call it a snow day.
Right.
That's the way I look at it. Because nobody will, a big section of our community would be missing. And it wouldn't be fair if it wasn't for everybody.
Right. Oh, okay. So you got some people online then. Rebecca, do you want to go first?
I didn't raise my hand.
Oh, sorry. Patty, did you raise your hand?
I think maybe I did. And my question, whoops, am I muted? No. My question was about, I agree with what Gary just said about the remote and snow days. This is a different question. But hang on, I lost it. I wrote it down somewhere. In November, on the calendar where it says, I just want to clarify that where it says WI before the holiday on Thanksgiving week,
Yes.
is that a comp day or an in-service day? Because they're not the same, are they?
Right. That's a comp day. That's why we've got the WI there. That's the comp day for parent-teacher conferences in November. And April 15th is the other comp day for the spring conferences.
I just wanted to make sure that that's what I thought, but a couple people called and asked me that question and I said, I think it's comp, but because it says in-service comp, I think people were confused about, is it like a teacher workshop day or not? But thank you for clarifying.
Yes.
Go ahead, Dave.
I would actually disagree, and I think that students should still be getting snow days. I guess in my mind, they should, if the state gives us snow days, we should use them, and then once you run out, then you go remote. That's my thought.
Go ahead, Alex.
I forget, how many snow days does the state give us?
We can we can set the number of days we want to use. I know in the past it was 3 but they went through a stretch where they were using them quite consistently and they were going above, so they moved it to 5. It just kind of depends what we want to set in terms of the number of snow days. If we call a snow day, you've got to make it up.
Right.
And that's why those days are there.
So then you extend the calendar. You
Right.
have to make it up.
Right, if we
And
go
people,
beyond 5.
what we found is people go on vacation based on this calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And when they say leave, I can remember the gentleman said, no, the kid said, we're on vacation. I'm not going to be there. I don't care about your.
Right. And no, I totally agree with you, Gary.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I think it was during my school years. We actually had to extend this calendar quite far out, and as a result, there was a lot of consideration on when graduation was going to be and making sure all the kids got their grades in on time.
Yeah.
And it became kind of a logistical hazard because you're not going to give a kid a diploma and then they didn't actually graduate kind of situation. So I totally agree with you, Gary. Is there other considerations as far as if we do this, would there be any problems implementing it?
Right now, I feel like we're in a pretty good place to be able to do remote days instead of snow days. My caution a little bit is if there would be like the monster storm coming in that we know is going to maybe potentially cause outages and stuff like that, that we may have to actually call as a snow day.
That's why I said,
Yeah.
on those days when you have no power, or one of our towns don't have power, then it should affect every town.
Okay. I don't know if Kathy wants to go first and then we can do the online
Just a
people.
quick question. Is this approved by the state?
As long as we have the number of days, we're all set. And right now, the state is saying that they will approve it as long as we can feed the students on those days that we call as remote days. So, I mean, we're in place to be able to do that. So, yeah, the state will approve it. They're saying they're going to give us the flexibility to do remote days for weather-related events, so. Betty, do you want to go first?
Sure. I agree with Dane that we need to have the flexibility to have snow days, not just if there's electricity out, but are we going to be supplying all students with computers next year? That is another consideration because worksheets do not make up for a snow day. I would want that if it's going to be a remote day, I would want it to be a robust remote day, and it has to be equal for all kids. And also, there are times when a snow day, whether it's the timing is everything. If it comes after right after finals or after a whole lot of testing, a snow day is a pretty nice day to have. So I don't want to say that every snow day has to be a remote day.
I think it was Patty. Did you have another comment?
Yes, I just wanted to say, even though as a teacher and as a parent, I have loved the snow days of my life. I in this district where I work, we've had so have you, right? A remote day schedule when there was a weather event this year, right? Did we have that this year with COVID stuff? Yes.
We've had COVID days, but we haven't had a weather-related day this year.
Well, we have had that, and we had an adjusted.
We've had one, Patty. I apologize.
Okay, we have an adjusted schedule, so it's a little bit shorter than a regular school day, but it is still a regular. Everyone is expected to go to all their classes and stuff like that, and it has gotten people, staff, administrators, and students have all said they've really liked it this year. So I'm saying that on the heels of the blizzard bag pilot that was going on before COVID, where we were getting ready for this kind of thing in anticipation of possibly having instructional time instead of snow days, and then have the school year end a little bit earlier. And I just want to say I just think that it's a great idea to do that.
How do you want to approach this?
Yeah, so we can vote on the calendar as is. Oh, I didn't realize.
So I have one quick clarification. So then keeping the 5 emergency days,
Yep.
would it be up to you and the staff to determine whether it's a snow day or a remote day, depending on the circumstances? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so we could have snow days and we could have
Yes,
remote
yeah,
days.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Patty for reminding me what the name of that project we were pursuing, and it was the blizzard bags. And yes, that was a big topic of discussion, and that was a big movement we were trying to push before COVID.
Right.
And it seemed COVID's been quite convenient in that aspect, as it's been able to help us forcibly refine remote days to the point where we're executing it quite quickly, effectively, and efficiently. So there's a positive.
Just somebody had mentioned, is everyone getting computers for next year? Is that
Yes.
happening? Okay.
Yes. Yep.
So the computers that were issued, or iPads, depending on what everybody got,
Yeah.
everybody's going to have something next year
Yes.
as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
I didn't know, maybe that
Yeah.
got answered and I
Good
was paying
question.
attention.
Go
Sorry.
ahead, David.
So for remote days, we're required, if I got a comment there, we're required to provide food for all the
Right.
kids.
Yes.
On a snow emergency that would stop the buses, how are we going to do that?
So what I would have to do, well, kind of the plan right now that I've worked out with food service is we watch the weather, and if it's during the week, the day before, we can send home the lunches. If it happens on a weekend, if the weather changes or whatnot, then I would automatically have to call a snow day, because like, if we didn't give them a lunch, we can't count the days. So like, if it was a weekend storm, more than likely, we'd have to say it's a storm day. Yeah.
You get the call.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, one more question.
Of
So
course.
the recording is going to tell us which one?
Yes,
You're on the
absolutely.
remote. The
Yes.
recording or whatever is
Yeah.
going to tell us which one we're doing. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And on the question of if it's a significant storm, the question of power outages, question of people being able to participate,
Right.
are we going to, as Gary put forward, perhaps, if it's a whole town, but if it's just one neighborhood, we're not going to
Right.
worry about them? Or
Yeah.
how are we going to define
Yeah.
that?
I mean, I'm not I don't have a direct line to
Yeah.
CMP as an example, but that is something we take a look at, and we listen to what the weather forecasters are saying about possible outages and stuff like that. So it's not fun. I'll tell everyone here, it's probably the worst, hands down, the worst part of my job at 4:30 in the morning, trying to decide what we're going to do. So the trend has been trying to call it the day before so that everyone knows. And again, you're not asking parents and families to have to wake up early and find out, well, are we going to school, not going to school, that kind of thing. We have plans in place now for if someone was to lose power, we kind of have a communication plan. So that way we can push something out and get it to people so that they know. But obviously we wouldn't, if somebody's losing power and it is a remote day, they're not going to get penalized for that. Yeah. Oh, Patty, go ahead.
I have a question, but it's not about the remote day, snow day thing. So I was going to wait. I was trying to be patient and wait till this part of it was over. But I do have one more calendar question.
Okay, so let's resolve this issue.
Yeah.
We need a second.
Wait, are we voting on the calendar right now?
Yeah,
Okay, so can I ask my question then?
Of course.
This is my usual, always ask this question, but I'm assuming even though it's been a strange year with COVID, that all of the, that like A teams looked at this, maybe this went out to staffs and the associations already looked at this and everybody feels like it's okay. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
We need a motion.
All right. I already
Wendy
did
made
it.
a motion
I
to,
made a motion.
yeah, for the calendar. So, I mean, we can leave it as is unless you guys want to make changes to it.
No.
Yeah.
Leave it as is.
we're leaving it as is, and with the understanding thinking that the goal, they look at that.
Whenever possible.
Whenever possible.
That's what I'm hearing, is whenever possible.
Right.
Please use the mics.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
All right, do you want me to do the motion again then?
No, I think she's already made it, right, Donna? Okay, okay.
So then we just,
Roll call.
Yep, so I can do the roll call vote?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. Kim, I should know this by now.
Yes.
Wendy,
yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and David.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone.
I move to approve policy JJE, student fundraising activities.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
All
Well,
right.
I have a question. Did we already see the underlined parts that had changed? Usually isn't it underlined if it changed or something?
Yeah.
Missed that? All right.
Okay, Kim?
I'm going to abstain. Apparently I missed that.
Oh, pardon me, Rebecca?
I just had a question. The fundraising policy got me thinking about last year, the seniors who they didn't get their project graduation. So I was just curious if anything was going to be done for that, and if they would, because I remember someone saying, I think it was Dr. Conway that said that they were going to plan something for the next year. Has that even been talked about?
I believe,
your seniors
yeah.
to get forgotten about.
right.
And on that,
So-
note, maybe this year's seniors too, if I don't know if administration or the board, I don't know who does that, but talk about
Yeah.
what we're going to do for this year's seniors too.
All right, I'm inviting Dr. Conway up because I think he can address it a little bit better than I can.
Sure, I don't have a super duper answer other than the money's still there, and the event's waiting to be planned by the students. But there's nothing concrete planned
Has
as
there
of
been
right now.
interest?
No one has reached out.
So they do have, I think we had said 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. So they do have 5 years to plan something. They've got a little bit of time there. I had one parent reach out to me with a question, answered it, and asked them to talk with Dr. Conway. I'm not sure if they did or not.
Right.
So it's still there and available, but it will handle it the same way we do with regular Project Grad. Everything will kind of funnel through the principal's office. So they just need to get in touch with Dr. Conway and he can release the money based on their plans. So,
And I think the thought was more of the 5-year reunion, using it, for that.
yeah.
Was that a thought from the students? That's what they kind of wanted?
Yeah, that was part of the conversation. It was driven by their interest, with whether they want it this year or 4 years from now.
Right.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
I think, can I say one thing really quick to add to what you said, Dr. Conway? I think if I remember right, last year's maybe secretary and treasurer from the senior class were going to be left on their Marana Cook emails so that they could
Yes.
talk about this at some point. So I don't know if that's a piece that you want to know, Rebecca, and then we also talked as a board. So thinking about this year's seniors, we made that exemption for last year's. And so I think that what you're asking is, do we need to do that again for this year's seniors? And if so, when would we do that? Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I know, full disclosure, I have a senior this year. So, I've heard, rumors around that, if there can't be, because of guidelines, a project graduation, that I'm getting the sense that they would like something, like something tangible, like a jacket that says class of 2021 or something, just something, you know, to kind of as an ending to all the hard work that they've done and still going to do as adults.
So just in regards to project graduation, we've had an advisor meeting so far, a meeting with seniors, a meeting with the lead parents, and we have a senior parents meeting with all the students invited next week. I can't remember if it's Tuesday, but someday next week. And we're certainly open to planning, you know, whatever fits within safety guidelines.
Great. I'm glad it's being looked at. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Glenn.
All right. Kim, you want to stay with abstain, right? Just double checking before. Wendy,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes?
and David.
Yes.
All right, so passes 11 yeses and 1 abstention. What are we up to?
Now we're up to you.
Oh,
COVID's up.
yep. So wanted to give you guys kind of updates on what the COVID data looks like specifically for the school. So in your packet is item agenda 6G that has the summary and charts. Some of that is stuff that I pull right off of the CDC website, as well as the DOE website, as well as our dashboard. So the first chart that you see is right from the main CDC site, which shows that downward trend with cases. I also pull out their spreadsheet and pull out the updates for the number of case counts for the 4 towns that we currently work that belong to the RSU. The district totals are at the bottom. So we've had 23 students and 2 staff up to this point, which I think are really good numbers compared to some other school systems around us. So thank you to everyone who's doing their best to help keep our schools open. Our totals as of last Friday, and you can see we haven't had any positive cases, knock on wood, in about 3.5 weeks at this point. You'll see on the dashboard on the next page. And then the cumulative cases by county, the color designations come out every week. That's number 5. And the whole state was green for the first time on February 26th. The next one will come not this week, but the week after. And then on the final page is the dashboard that I keep. And I just put in the 2 that you have not seen from February 12, which was the week right before vacation. And then, of course, last week, which was the week right after vacation. We are in a really, really good spot right now. We hardly have anyone testing. If you look at the bottom of the page, the testing information we had at the time of last week, only 1 student awaiting a test and 2 staff members awaiting a test. So we're, knock on wood, in really, really good shape right now. Our trends are going down. Things, as far as COVID data goes, are very positive. So we're working on trying to keep that there. Of course, like with anything else, there's some forecasts out there for another little spike based on variants, but our data looks really good at this point. So every Friday I update it. So wanted to share that with you and make sure. I had said I would do that every business meeting, so pulled that together. So any questions I can answer or discussion? John,
Go ahead, Al.
I'm good. I mean, as far as I can see it, the statistics are indicating that we're in a good position and we continue to be in a good position. And the state also tells us we've been green since inception. So
yep,
we're in a good position. Thank you, Jay.
Yep. Thanks, Sean. Good question.
Go ahead, Sean.
Are these, or do you know, or can you share, are these members, students in quarantine because they're in contact with COVID, or could it because some of these members because of travel?
Some of it's because of travel.
Okay.
Yes, that's a
So
very good
it's skewed
question,
a little,
right?
it doesn't necessarily mean they're in contact. with
Yeah,
COVID.
it wasn't contact through exposure at school.
Okay.
That's, a lot of those numbers are from outside of school travel, other contact away.
Because I
from
know
school.
some kids that went to Florida. for
Right,
example.
exactly, that kind of thing. Yeah, we did have that, so.
So that's included in.
That's included in here right now. I mean, we're just trying to say these are the numbers
Yep.
that are.
No, I was just wondering if they're all, if that included those numbers. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep. Is there anybody? Oh, Betty.
Jay, was that paper included in the folders?
Yes, it was. Donna's sending it off to you right now.
Okay, is there
So
anything
she'll send
else?
it.
Anything else that we will need?
No, I think that's it.
Thank you.
Okay. Back to 6H. The letter.
6H, the student petition.
David?
Thank you. We received those emails, that petition from the students. I understand you're going to work out giving them a chance to speak to us on the 10th,
On the 10th, yep,
which
the next meeting.
sounds good. However, it raises some concerns for me. At our last meeting, you assured us that not only were our safety guidelines all being met, but that with a little effort, we'd be able to meet them with the planned openings. And it's just a snapshot, you might say, that's been presented, just as we've had other snapshots giving other views. But the snapshot did not say that that picture was completely accurate, might be a way of putting it. That, for instance, in my organization, at least one, if not two, employees were fired for when they intentionally did not wear masks when they were required to. And there have been regular follow-ups and follow-up actions regarding the idea of if someone's not abiding by the safety regulations. And if, as was in the pronouncements by Dr. Fauci and that were shared with us and were shared in the letters, schools and ours have been safe because of people being safe. Not as much because I think there's debate about whether students are less susceptible, but rather because people have been safe. And so I support that, but I would like to have assurances that A, we're listening to the students. If a group of community members that size had come to us with a petition, I think there would be a very careful attention paid to it and a lot of response to it. And these students are our community also and deserve the respect and attention to their concerns. I am not moving or proposing that we change our opening plans, but I want us to seriously think about whether we can do some more things to reassure me, perhaps others on the board, others in the community, and these students, that we are protecting everybody in the school community as thoroughly as we can. So the question is sort of what, and maybe that comes at the next meeting, but what reassurances we can have that things are being addressed. Period. Thank you. Yep.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Sean.
I guess my comment is, I mean, people are welcome. People have come, I just want to make sure, might not agree with what was said in the survey, but people have come to the board during public comment period, whether it be students, teachers, members of the community. And my whole time on this board, and some of those periods were very contentious. So people are always welcome to come share their viewpoints with the board. And I hope the students know that who are listening, they're always welcome to come, and they could have come tonight if they chose. We've had students come to this board before. So I don't think they're being dismissed because they're students. I mean, it's part of learning and growing up. I've done a lot of petitions and voiced my concerns from the time I was in elementary. I don't think that surprises anybody, and still do it today. So people are welcome to come to this board at any time, and there's going to be differences of opinion. So.
Moving on.
Dr. Dr. Conway, I realized that we skipped over in our report section, the policy section. I don't know, Patty, if you'd like to report out on that policy meeting we had and mention the first reads from that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We looked at the adjournment of board meetings policy, student achievement and evaluation of student proficiency policy, student cultural exchanges, admission of homeless students, assignments of students to classes, that is transfer students and homeschool students getting assigned into classes, care of school property by students, weapons, violence, and school safety, which we're going to first read and bring it back to the April 7th meeting. Student use of cellular telephones and other electronic devices, student performances, exhibitions, competitions, and playground use. So those were all the ones that we were looking at for first read.
Thank you, Patty.
Yep.
So just to back up what Patty said, the one that really gave us a little, we're still thinking about, and Jay said there was nothing from the MSMA on that policy, and that is the cell phones.
Yeah.
The taking of pictures, I find that concerning for teachers, everybody. But if teachers or principals have any ideas, we need to consider those. We'd like to hear about that.
Yep. And we are inviting the principals to come to the next policy meeting to discuss that so that we can hopefully craft our policy. Again, it's one of those things that times are changing. So it's not an easy policy to just quickly work through. So times are changing. So we need to plan for those changes.
Because there was an MSMA policy, but ours is like it, but what we were discussing is that doesn't really reflect the reality. Like we can say no phones, but kids are on their phones. And so what do we want to do with that? We should have a policy that is real and also hold people accountable for all that stuff. So that's why. Yep.
And something that teachers can enforce, because not every teacher can enforce it.
True story.
So. Okay.
All right.
We have a curriculum meeting on the 28th and an ad hoc Awesome Bear on 3/10.
Yep.
Via Zoom. What time? Jay?
They're usually 6:30. But we will have a board meeting that night. So I
You gotta
either
put 'em on.
choose Awesome Bear or board meeting.
Okay. No problem. Moving on. Budget workshop.
Oh. I'm going to just switch to the podium just because it'll be easier for me. I apologize. Yeah, if you don't mind. So again, tonight, what we're doing is the last part of the budget workshop. So we're going to talk about the miscellaneous cost centers and accounts. I do have a few people here. If there's questions that we can help kind of divert those questions to and be able to get that. So again, as you've seen this presentation about 3 or 4 times now, the goal is always, as always, is to support all students' academic, social, and emotional success while maintaining physical responsibility. The team directives, I won't read those over to you. Again, you've seen them many times, but we'll just kind of flash them on the screen for the sake of brevity tonight. So updates from the last budget meeting, which was last week. So you guys got a budget draft last week. We haven't made any changes to those yet, but everything that I talk about here tonight is still included in that draft. So there's no changes. We had reduced down to about a 3.97% increase. So we're still there as of this week. And I expect next week to have an update that reduces that a little bit more. So we're working with technology. Diane, last meeting, if you guys remember, had talked about the numbers are kind of fluid right now. They're still a little bit fluid. So what I'm going to do is start working to apply some of the technology money that you heard about last time to the ESSER grant. So we're trying to kind of nail down what those numbers are so that we can make smart choices when it comes to that. Notification of health and dental rates usually comes near the end of March, the beginning of April. So an adjustment will be made at that time. Again, for those of you that have been through the budget process, you'll remember that. There is a couple of new concerns that have come up that I just want to draw your attention to, not asking you to change anything. We bid out our oil prices, and as you know, with what's going on in Texas, that has dramatically affected oil. So there is a concern with that. Normally, we had kind of budgeted about a 10-cent per gallon increase. We think it's going to be above that, so we're not going out to bid quite yet. We're going to try to play the market and see if we can, get the best deal possible that we can. But there is a concern around oil costs, so I just kind of wanted to put that out there. That came forward this week. The other thing that came forward, which is a significant change, is our property and casualty insurance, which we get through the MSMA trust. They are projecting rates to be 18 to 24% increase, which is, as you guys know, very significant there. Normally, we budget a 15% increase and then reduce it once we get our actual rate. So that's something we're watching very closely as well going forward. Bridget, did I misspeak on any of that? All right. As you guys know, Bridget's the expert, so I always defer to her and check in often with her. Okay, so let's talk about the cost centers. The first one is the co and extracurricular line. There are no new requests, but there is about a $7,500 increase due to salaries, benefits, and workers' compensation. That's all of those positions stipended positions, coaching positions, et cetera. Those are all done through the contract. So that's where the increase comes from when you're looking at that. So, so there's no new request, but that line is up about $7,500. Transportation, there's an increase of about $42,872. A part of that is salaries, benefits, and workers' compensation. The other things that we have to take into account here are there is going to be an additional special education transportation out of district needed. Normally that's paid for through the special education budget, but because it's transportation, the money's got to kind of flow through transportation. So, so that's up a little bit as well. It's actually almost doubled. There is a small increase to our bus insurances, again, kind of normal. There's a decrease in that we're not asking for any equipment through transportation. And we have actually, is it 3 or 4? I always say it wrong. 3 buses that are coming off or finishing their lease programs. So that's helped us to decrease because we're going to be looking at putting 2 new buses on for next year. And we talked a little bit about that last time. There's also a need for a special education bus aid due to the needs of the student in this particular. So it's up a little bit, but there are some decreases. But wanted you guys to kind of know what the increases were for going forward there. The next slides I kind of grouped together. The health center. Oh, sorry, Sean. Yes. Yeah, it would be better if I could do it all, and then I'll do it all, and then I'll answer any questions, and then we can help divert people around us. So the health center, there's no changes. Remember, the health center is funded through a local that we put in. There's a state grant that Sarah talked about. The RFP, RFP, right? Process is underway. As soon as we have it, we'll be applying. And then we've got a family planning grant as well. So that's kind of what helps fund and run the health center as you go forward here. The adult education budget, there's no additional requests. And we try to keep that line as static as possible because one of the things, if you start kind of playing with that, sometimes you lose money, even though you're trying to save money, you actually end up losing money. That damages the program. So there's no additional requests and we're basically leaving it the same. The one thing that I didn't put on here, but that I will point out is Mr. Vose's CDL program that he's running. The past 2 years, he had asked for additional $12,000 for that program. He has some reserve to work with, so he's not asking for that additional $12,000 this year. And that's because of the work he's done keeping that program kind of solvent. If we can continue to grow that program, we actually probably could make some money with that for the adult education program. And Steve does a really good job and is very conscious of what he spends and how he spends it. So that's worked out really well. The professional development curriculum assessment line, we are going to be taking the curriculum director, Dr. Harriman. She's at 60% time. We're going to be moving that back to 100% time. And then we've got ALICE training. Normally, ALICE training has been done through the RSC, but for the final year of it, each school has decided to do their own thing. So we would have to pick up the cost for ALICE training. That is something that, again, it's around school safety. We'll have to make a decision on if we want to continue that contract for ALICE training or not. The overall increase is approximately $30,000 to that particular cost center. So just so that you know. Food service, there are no new requests. And there will be no addition to local funding. The goal of that program is that your revenue and expenditures match. Again, thank you to Jen Hall, who's the director, and working with Bridget, we've done a really good job with food service. So again, there's no real new request, no change to that program. System administration is up about $49,000 due to salaries, benefits, and workers' compensation. School board liability has also gone up. I mean, all of our insurances have gone up this year. We're just lucky, I guess. And then we've got ADS software, which is our accounting software. There will be a fee increase for that as well. And then, of course, dues and fees for the various groups that we partner with, including MSMA, WMEC, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of where that falls going forward. So our debt service, along with our lease purchases, we're down about $464,000, but that's due to the middle school is now paid off, as well as the Fields bond, the middle school and Fields bond are both paid off. So that's why it's down so dramatically from that. The school buses, again, we're going to be going from 3 down to 2. So again, that helps reduce a little bit. And the high school renovation bond is in year 19 of 20. So again, as you go down when you're paying off bonds, each year is a little bit less. So that has really helped us that we're getting towards the end of several of these leases. Still ongoing is our recent facilities bond. We're in year 2 of 15 of that one. We have a copier lease that will be going into its final year, year 4. Utility vehicle lease, again, it's a 4-year lease and we're coming to the end of that 4-year lease. The Siemens Phase 2 energy retrofit was an 11-year lease program and we're at the end of that one as well. And then, of course, what's to be announced, as we talked about last meeting, is that whatever we do with technology, there's probably going to be a lease. It's going to have to be some sort of lease purchase for our 6th grade, 9 through 12 students, as well as our teachers at those grade levels as well. So that number, again, is still fluid, and I wasn't comfortable throwing any number there because we're just not there yet. So, but that's one that more than likely will become a new one that'll be coming forward for a lease purchase. And again, that'll probably be a 3 or 4 year lease purchase. So just so that you guys kind of know. The good news is the line is still down significantly there, but the payoff, so the middle school is all ours now, guys, which is a good feeling. So that's basically my quick presentation, but I expect that there will be some questions. So what I'm going to do is jump back to the table so that way we can make sure anyone online who also has a question can ask it, and I'll bring all of my papers there. And what I don't know, I'll ask Bridget to help me answer.
Sean, you had a question?
Yeah. First one is about transportation. Have we, I mean, I briefly mentioned this to you, but I'll ask in the more formal. I mean, I know myself, I know it's no one's fault, but tired of we can't do this because of transportation. We can't do that because like it seems like every other thing is because of transportation. Have we thought of any creative ways, to attract drivers or look at, I mean, I hate to say it, hire drivers out, it's that time of year. I know someone who owns a bus company through other work I do. And, it's the time of year when you look at those things, but next year, hopefully we're back to more of a normal and there's going to be sports teams and band team, whatever. And I'd hate to see those kids not be able to participate in those things because we can't transport them. And I know there was I mentioned some ideas of bonuses if they come on. Can we train people? And if they stayed so many years, pay their training. I mean, we got to think of those things because every other day there's an article of schools closed. I mean, down in Cumberland, they pay their drivers way more than we do. They had to close school because they didn't have drivers. So I guess, is there any thoughts of adding money to the budget to do something creative like that?
Yep. And that's definitely something like one of the things that we have talked about doing is the potential for paying someone paying the class, but asking them to work like a set number of time for us, whether it's like 2 years or 3 years, and then you don't have to pay back the class. If you leave before that time is up, then we would bill you for the class. That's something we talked about doing as well. We've talked about the idea of potential bonuses, and one of the people that I talked to had said what they're running into is people will work, like they'll say you have to work 6 months before you can get the bonus, the sign-on bonus. And what's happening is people working 6 months, getting the bonus and then leaving. So all of those things, Sean, are on the table. It's, as a board, if you guys would like to say, hey, here's some money to help support that, we definitely have some ideas we can use. It just kind of, it's something we definitely could try. There's no doubt about it.
I think we need to strongly look at it because, what, you said we have 11 out of 18 drivers? That's problematic. I think the only reason we've been able to do is because there has been no trips.
Yeah.
I don't know what the trips look like, but our school's a very active district, which is great. And I'd hate to see kids not be able to participate because of that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, at some point if that needs to be a motion.
Yeah, well, Sean, if you would like, I can bring back a potential, like what that number might need to look like to you guys on March 10, if that would be helpful to everyone. I don't think it needs to be a super big amount, but I do think having a small pot to work with would be very helpful in upping our driver force.
If others are interested, I know where I'm at. I'll leave it at that.
Would you guys like me to draw something up? I can definitely do that. Okay, I'll draw something up.
I would support that as well. This is Rebecca.
Yep.
So one other thing with the Class A license, what happens in industry is if you have no Class A, they pay for the school and they require 2 years minimum.
Yeah.
I have yet to see anybody less than 2 years.
Yeah.
And I think that should be offered.
Yeah.
But our CDL class that is run here.
Yep.
We utilize that.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to help both.
Steve, do you want to talk about this at all? I know we're kind of mentioning your class, so I don't want to put you on the spot. If you'd like to add something, though, that would be great to hear from you.
Well, you mentioned a lot of things, salary increases and being able to pay for the class. And I say, yes. But it also takes, money, and you need to find the individuals. I often say, I don't think there's a shortage of school bus drivers. I think if you paid them what they were worth, you'd have them beating down your door. So you have to make that monetary commitment to decide that's what you want to do. We run the program typically twice a year. We're running it right now with 11 people. I know that Julie called me yesterday to talk about some ideas, so I'm guessing that she's probably thinking the same way I am, that we could actually start something here locally where we trained our own bus drivers, and we ran a class specifically for our bus drivers. And when we did our on-the-road training, they actually ran the school bus routes that they'd actually be doing when they started work here. I think there's an awful lot that we could do. I think that, it just has a cost.
Thank you, Steve.
Go ahead, Kim.
Since I think this was a food service discussion this time, and we had a person from the public that mentioned, and I don't know anything about the program, but last week or whenever we had our last meeting, for the $5,000 for the nutrition something education, has that been considered to add into the budget at all? Or
Oh, John Harker, no, that's not in here at this point. So if it's, again, something you'd like to pursue for that curriculum, he had thrown the number $5,000. We can do that. We cannot do it. It's up to you as a board.
I think it's important that we do it because health is very important. And if you don't have the proper intake of food, and you have the wrong food, you're hyper, and kids need to understand how that all works. I mean, we have a fantastic health department. We have the
yeah,
food
I don't know.
service.
That was I don't know what the program is that he was referring to, but if there's
I think we need to.
something. I don't
look
think it's a
into
bad
that
idea.
more. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with you, Gary. I mean, exploring another avenue is good, especially when it comes to health and like childhood obesity and diabetes. That's
How much
been
are we
a
doing
growing
already? Are
concern.
we not within the health? Because I know they have health every year or whatever.
Yeah, health is part of the regular
Right.
kind of school budget lines. It's not normally a separate all by itself. It's part of what is part of the curriculum lines. So yeah, it's not food service.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I just wanted to say, before we commit to any amount of money, I'd like to see what it actually is in the curriculum right now, because it seems to me like there is something similar to what John was talking about. So I'd just like to see what that is before we commit to any money.
Yeah.
Because he must be using a book. I think that's what the cost was.
I do have a
Go ahead,
different
Al.
question. So when it comes to the oil, are we still looking into proceeding how we did previous years?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Same thing where we try to order with the towns, so that way we can get the best price we can get. So we're still doing that. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. Second question is school board liability. Who's raising it? Is it you, Gary? No, I'm just being sarcastic. But yeah, no, I was just being sarcastic.
School board
Don't worry.
liability.
I don't think it's you, Gary.
The other thing is that the commercial vehicles, those buses.
Yeah.
We got to think soon because a Class A tractor went up almost $28,000. So somehow you need to think before too long. Because not only is diesel going up, the tractor itself. My nephew blew an engine. He priced the engine before he took off. And it was like only 22,000. When it got to where he got to Omaha, it was 30,000. So they're not cheap. So we need to get on that. All right. Board question, citizens comments.
So again, if there's anyone online that would like to make a comment about the budget, please.
Hi. I don't see a place to raise my hand.
Well, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay. If you've thought about any alternate heat sources like heat pumps, I can tell you from experience, they are wonderful. And they could supplement and keep down those oil costs.
I think we got heat pumps.
Yeah, we definitely have some heat pumps in appropriate places, but we can always look to see where there might be other places that they could be used.
Yeah, well, I didn't know you had some, so that's great that you do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Well, thank you, Jay, for presenting the budget tonight. We're happy to see what the next meeting's budget's going to be,
Next
and
week.
hopefully a little bit closer to what we targeted, but we shall see. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
All right.
Yep.
I move we go into executive session to consider labor contract discussions between the RSU 38 Board of Directors and the Marana Cook Area School Staff Association pursuant to 1 MRSA 405-6D.
Second.
Okay, very quickly, Kim,
Yes?
Dane.
Did you skip Wendy?
Oh, I skipped Wendy. Thank you.
You don't count anymore, Wendy. You're done.
Wendy.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. Dane.
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Melissa.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Patty.
Yes.
Rebecca.
Yes.
Eddie.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
And David. Yes. Unanimous. For those people online, as we're kind of getting ready to go in, those people, public that's online, we're going to move you over to a waiting room. And when the executive session is over, we will bring you back. So that'll take a couple minutes to do. So for people that are in person or board members at home, it'll just take a minute or two and we'll start talking. Okay, we're back.
I move
Okay.
we adjourn.
Second.
Done.